Hey Matt,
Yeah.
have did you see
Yeah.
Tom Nicholas's
Yes.
new
Yes, and
video essay?
it was all about the sort of parallel political lives of Nigel Farage and Keir Starmer, our
Hmm.
Keir,
Yeah.
and how they have very different approaches to politics in terms of following their gut or trying to push their agendas or whatever. But they've ended up being kind of mortal enemies, really. But at the same time, Starmer kind of adopting a lot of the policies of Nigel Farage.
Yeah, I
Interesting
think
question.
that's a good analysis because it kind of is a bit nonsensical, which I think you capture. It kind of comes together. It looks like it's coming together in some way, but it isn't really. I liked it though. I enjoyed it.
Yes, and I did
I'd
too.
just like to say, shut up. I'd just like to say that it was good and I got a lot out of it. Particularly, he went over the archives. In this
Yeah.
regard, it was like Adam Curtis and delved into some stuff that I'd forgotten and stuff I'd not seen before. I'd not actually ever seen any stuff of Nigel Farage on I'm a Celebrity, so that
Oh
was
yeah.
that was interesting to see. But
Yeah.
anyway, having said all of that, now that we've said that it was good and we enjoyed it, we can now massively shit on it.
What's your problem with it? I thought it was fine.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was better than fine. I enjoyed it.
It was really good, but you want to
I thought it was the
nitpick the
best
fuck out of
fucking
it.
thing I've ever seen. All
Sorry,
right.
Tom Nichols. I know you
What
must
is
be
your problem with
clamoring at the
just
bit to watch this
looking at
fucking
something
critique.
and saying this I thought was good and this I thought was bad?
Okay,
What
well, and
is
what was
wrong with
bad?
that?
What was wrong with it? What was wrong with it?
Well, one of the things I found quite annoying was the way that he
Was it
presented
repetitive?
and the hand movements as well. I mean, I gesticulate, but it's so measured, so controlled. And look, I've made stuff that's similar. I've made sort of similar video essay type stuff, and I know how difficult it is, and probably much more difficult for me because I'm much worse at it than him. But when you're doing something on your own to camera, you feel really stupid, and it's really hard to get the words out, and it takes 100 takes, and you have to like cut it really finely because you end up looking away from the camera after you've finished speaking. You're so relieved that you've got the sentence out without fucking it up. And
Yes.
so I admit I watch all of these things with like a really fucking harsh judgment and some sort of PTSD about when I used to attempt to make actually quite good and comprehensive videos like this. The problem with it though is I think the effective presenting style is ridiculous, and I don't know what that's about really.
Mm.
Um, but obviously that's not my main issue with it. The main issue, I mean, well, it's partly is because what it pertains to, the reason I guess he's doing it, probably unthinkingly. He probably hasn't thought about this documentary as much as I have, I imagine. And the reason that he's sort of, because this isn't the first time, this is what he does every time, just relentlessly does this thing. And it is almost to the point that it's taking the piss because it's so kind of over the top. But it is the kind of affected rhythms, sort of structure of a sentence that you do get on, as you say, like Simon Sharma or something that's sort of media trained people to
Yeah.
present stuff, and it seems very dated these days. It seems very 90s, but it also seems very establishment. It's kind of gives that air of this is of polish, and therefore because stylistically it looks very much like something you would see on the BBC.
Mm.
Therefore, the information that you're getting is of that quality, which I
Yeah.
would say is probably actually better. But the subtle thing is not that the quality is better or worse, but what people see as being a kind of the political view that you would expect to be expressed from the BBC has come out of rigorous political debate and research and
Yeah, which
understanding
it
of the
obviously
world,
hasn't. It's just
which it
sort of
hasn't.
a sheen of professionalism.
Right. And so
But
he's got that. And I think this is subconsciously because
he's
he
being
is
BBC, we're more like BBD,
who
or
we
maybe
are.
yeah, BB
Well, I'm not making any
BBU,
I'm not making any like we're
ungraded. Or maybe more like CD didn't turn up to the second paper.
Anyway, what were we, you you say something about it then? I don't know. I've said
What
some.
didn't you? Well, I know. I just want you to know. Want to know what you disagreed about on the substance of the fucking
Well, it's so
show.
difficult because I don't really know what his point was. Although I did write some things down.
Well, that's true.
Do you want to know what I wrote down
It
as
was
well?
basically I've got Keir Starmer and I've got the leader of UKIP's, and I'm going to try and make a story out of them. And you can't really make a story out of them because they haven't fucking like met. Don't do anything together. It's like this is the story of the princess and the guy she never met, like Sleeping Beauty,
The
but
guy
without
she never met.
the guy, but without
Sounds
the
like a
fucking
Morrissey song.
the Beauty
Like
and the Beast.
the love of your life is out there, but you'll never meet them. You'll never
Yeah,
see them.
because he's in number 10 Frowning Street.
Nice.
Okay.
Brilliant.
If you're listening, Mr. Morrissey, you can have that one for free.
Frowning Street is the kind of shit Morrissey
That's the kind of
title that he would put
yeah.
on his albums these days.
Number 10 Frowning Street.
I could totally see that. Tom Nicholas, right? What does he say? Well, there's some things that he kind of comes out with that, again, I wonder what he's actually thinking. They just kind of he just throws them out there. Like, for example, um, well, okay, let's start with the title. The title of the video on YouTube is "How the Far Right Took Over Britain."
Yeah.
But then, if you watch the actual video, when it comes up with the chapters, it's got
Mm.
the title he's actually edited in a long time
Yeah.
ago, which is "The Men Who Broke British Politics."
Yeah.
So presumably that's the link,
Yeah.
but I'm not really sure how Starmer broke British politics. Or, I mean, I
No, he
am
fixed it.
personally. No, he definitely didn't do that. But I don't see anything in this documentary that explains that. But one thing he says early on is he's talking about Starmer's Pebble Dash semi. He doesn't say it
Oh
exactly.
no, it's not the thing he didn't pay
It's
for
got to be
again.
YouTube friendly, but he alludes to it,
I never
and
paid for my Pebble Dash Semi,
he says that
and
they
that's why the Ukrainians are after me.
it would be amazing if all of the everything that's going down in Ukraine is based on Starmer's debts to society.
Ah,
Oh dear.
Do you want to hear what he said?
Hmm.
So he talks about Starmer, lower middle class, whatever the fuck he was, ends up becoming a lawyer, ends up becoming head of the CPS, and he says, Tom Nicholas says, for all these kind of reasons, basically, this is exactly the sort of person we're led to believe should become prime minister. And I like who is we in
Mm.
that sentence, and who is the omitted subject because he's using the passive.
Yeah.
Who is leading us to believe this? And it's that kind of like I
Who do you infer from that?
I don't know because in a way, right, the video is kind of a bit anti-Starmer.
Yeah.
Agree. And in fact, the sort of people that I would say lead us to believe that he should be the right kind of prime minister are people like Tom Nicholas. Because in his previous video, he talked. We're going to get 10 minutes left of this, by the way. If anyone who doesn't watch this is watching for the first time, we do these on Zoom. Don't even fucking look into it, right? That's just how it is. Anyway, so he in his last video was like how the Tories ruined the country or something like that. And it just goes through each of the Tory prime ministers over the last decade and talks about the different terrible things they did, starting with Cameron's Brexit, Boris Johnson's pandemic corruption, Liz Truss breaking the economy, um, Rishi Sunak just not being white. I don't know, something like that, right? Anyway, so he goes he goes through them all, and then it like the whole thing is like, could this be the moment that we now get a Labour government in who's going to sort out this mess? He's very much on, I mean, not explicitly, but he's very much kind of supporting, giving kind of um, ammunition to the sort of people that were pushing for Starmer's Labour government to come in, and as they did, right? So it's weird. I mean, it's not weird. I think it's kind of interesting that now, I think Tom Nicholas, he's very much is following what's happening in terms of that kind of centre left liberal consensus. And he was there for that. And now he's here for the Starmer backlash. Um,
Mm.
but I do think it's interesting that I don't know who he's talking about in that particular thing. Anyway, then he
Probably
also
his
said,
probably his parents.
because then he goes on, he's quite, his parents. Yeah.
Well, it will be, won't it?
So he's led to believe we're, as in me and my siblings, were led to
Yeah.
believe that Keir Starmer should be the prime minister by fucking parents who won't fucking die and give us the house. I could see that. You know, when you're an editor, you know what's been cut, and I could see that was the next.
Oh, right. Yeah, you inferred, but you were very confident inference.
Yeah, I could tell that was what was cut. Anyway, then he says, but I mean, he's got some interesting, like, again, he doesn't fully get into it, but he basically explains that the whole narrative around the fact that Keir Starmer came up with the Brexit policy for Corbyn's Labour Party that ended up destroying their election
Yep.
chances. And then he
Hmm.
says this should have ended whatever political ambitions Keir had.
Mm.
He doesn't go on to say why it didn't, which is
Mm.
interesting. Because I would argue the reason that it didn't is because the whole problem in the Labour Party
Yeah.
had nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It was a factional war, and
Mhm.
Islam was on the right side of that faction.
Yeah, and also played a very canny game on the whole thing. Like when he, was it that Tom Nichols was talking about when there's the coup against Corbyn, and then uh, Starmer doesn't join the coup, but does the day after it's ended. And
Exactly. Yeah, no, he does. He brings that
so
up.
that's interesting, isn't
Yeah.
it? What a political player. I mean,
Yeah. Because then he goes, I
so,
mean, he talks about the weaponization of anti-Semitism statement that Corbyn made
mm,
that got him kicked out. And he brings up the Ford report. And I mean, he goes further than I think is actually arguably true. He says that the Ford report, commissioned by Starmer, which is true, will later conclude that, referring to the weaponization of anti-Semitism, was very much the case. I think the Ford report
yeah.
does do that, but that's all his mention of the Ford report, which makes it sound like that is what the Ford report is about, but it's not. Is it,
So
it tries the Ford report tries to have its cake and eat it basically, and it does basically say what Corbyn said was right, but then it also tries to say that there was a legitimate problem with anti-Semitism and there was mismanagement from the. It's fucking bullshit. It's the kind of bullshit that Starmer would produce, you know.
So
But
are you
anyway,
saying that Tom Nichols is supportive of the Corbyn project here, or are you saying he's kind of very
I
soft
suppose I
support,
suppose what
or
I'm
what?
saying is that people like Tom Nicholas. I don't know about him personally, obviously, but I'm getting a sense that they may have they probably voted for Labour in 2019, reluctantly, and they
Yeah,
probably voted for Starmer in the last election
yeah.
reluctantly, whatever the word is. But this time, but now I think those kinds of voters, often Remainers and quite kind of skeptical of the Corbyn project, but generally supportive and
Mm.
certainly anti-Tory. Those people are really coming round, I think, now to Corbyn. And the
Right.
people, and we could talk about maybe a bit later, that maybe some of the really core, like hardcore Corbyn support are maybe moving away from Corbyn now. Interestingly enough, I could see maybe.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Yes, about because of the Israel thing is what you're thinking.
I think that's something we'll talk about that in a bit, I suppose. But that would be a sign to me of something that it just wouldn't have happened, 5, 10 years ago, whatever. Anyway,
Mm.
let's see what else I wrote before we get over off
Yeah,
this.
please do. Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, actually, there isn't. Oh yeah, so when Starmer wins the election in the documentary, Tom Nicholas says just this is the beginning of the section, of the chapter, as he's put it. This could have been it. After the derailment of the Corbyn years and the chaos of Brexit, Keir Starmer's ascendancy to the prime ministership is interpreted by some in the media as a sign that pragmatism, technocracy, and measured, sensible centrism is back. So he says by some in the media, not himself, obviously. Although that was basically the argument he was making before the election in his last video. And at even the beginning of this sentence, he said, this could have been it.
Yeah,
Like,
just what my
he's
parents
saying
wanted.
that. Yeah, just what my parents wanted. But he's saying that. It's a very, I don't know, I just find it very slippery. And I think because of his
That is BBC style.
Yeah, exactly. He's got it down. But then I think, maybe this is the thing. Like, he doesn't really think enough about what he's writing. He's
Because he's
too worried about his
he's
hair.
reflecting the various shifting interests and power dynamics of the Labour Party, which is he's being a bit of a stenographer rather than an analyst.
Yes, but not openly.
But not openly, which is what the BBC does, which
Yes.
makes it kind of more insidious. But they try their best, and they're quite easy to read.
Yeah, it's short articles.
Yeah. Tell you what the BBC should do, though, is do audio versions of their articles. I can never be fucking bothered to read any
They
of it.
should get Tom Nicholas to read them.